FA fam, what is up? What is happening? Back again. We are here, week 7, running back rankings. It is an absolute dumpster fire out there at the running back spot this week. We have injuries. We don't know if Saquon's going to play. Nick Chubb's already been ruled out. Chris Carson's on IR. We have 6 teams on bye. I mean, it is a rough go this week. We're talking about possibly playing Dearness Johnson or Demetric Felton. You know, I mean, it is just a dumpster fire out there at the running back position. But the show must go on. And so we can either sit here and cry about it, or we can pick up the pieces and try to win this week. And that's exactly what we are going to do. Joined, as always, with Robbie and Cody. So let's just get things going here. We are going to start with our top 12 running back. And consensus, we have Derrick Henry. I guess you hate to see it, but you love to see it at the same time. If you know anything about us. But regardless, Derrick Henry starts off number 1 against Kansas City. Then you have Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Darrell Henderson at 5, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Darrell Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, and Leonard Fournette. The things that I did not expect at all, all these guys, this collection of just elite talent at the running back position this week in the top 12. But here we are. So let's make the most of it. So Robbie, start us off. Who is somebody in the top 12 that you want to wax poetically about?
That was wild. We need to take a quick second and just realize, I think you had Darrell Williams as a top 7 back in a week of fantasy football. Like, that's Chuba Hubbard, Josh Jacobs, you know, some of these names, and I get Josh Jacobs, we had that name up there at one point in time, but man, this is a wild week. I'm going to go to one name that you said kind of at the end, Elijah Mitchell. Yes, the Trey Sermon truther is going to talk some positive vibes here about Elijah Mitchell, because why did I like, a running back coming into that San Francisco offense? Is because Kyle Shanahan, for all of the questioning we have with him right now, what does he do most weeks? He gets production out of the running back room. We've seen it going back for multiple years now. And with Elijah Mitchell healthy, he has gotten the majority, the almost every carry, really, when he's been healthy, weeks 1 and 2. And then this past week, or I should say 2 weeks ago before their bye. And so now he comes back here in week 7. They've been on bye. Like you said in our quarterbacks video, Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to start. And I think that helps Elijah Mitchell, because we're not splitting carries here with Trey Lance as well. Elijah Mitchell is probably expected to get a majority of that workload. We're talking, 15-ish carries, maybe more. We saw week 1, he got 19. So I'm excited about him, because I just think when he's healthy, he's the guy that they trust right now. They don't trust Trey Sermon as much as I like him. They don't trust him. And so he can absolutely be that guy that has a safe workload. And I just like him for this week. So I'm excited about starting him as a top 12 back this week.
Not the name you were hoping for, Robbie. So I'm proud of you, buddy, for talking about a rookie not named Trey Sermon for the 49ers. Kev asked you to wax poetic about somebody. I don't necessarily want to wax poetic. Like, this is so gross that we literally have, and I'm sure the 0 RB truthers are out there parading around in their birthday suits, feeling really good about themselves, because we literally have, 3 waiver wire running backs here, or at least guys who are, in the last rounds of your drafts with, obviously Darrell Williams, Chuba Hubbard were waiver guys, and Elijah Mitchell, he was probably a waiver guy too after week 1. And then, you have guys like Josh Jacobs, everybody left for dead, and Darrell Henderson, who was a 5th round guy. But just really quickly, if you have Chuba Hubbard, you're playing him. Hopefully you didn't drop him thinking that Christian McCaffrey was coming back and then didn't get him off of waivers. This is another reason why we don't want to handcuff our own running backs, because Chuba Hubbard is stepping into that position. He's getting the majority of the workload, but there is just 2 games that he's played where he has 5 or more targets. Like, that is not the Christian McCaffrey workload. They are using some other guys, especially in 2-minute drills. We saw Ronnie Smith used against, I think, maybe the Dallas game. I think he came in and picked up a bunch of the targets. But I mean, over the past 3 weeks, you're looking at 13, 24, and 16 carries, at least 50 yards, at least 57 yards in all of those games as well. He finally got his first touchdown this past week. But now going up against the Giants, everybody has run all over, passed all over this team, basically doing whatever they want to defensively, giving up the 7th most half PPR points per game to the running back position. So Chuba Hubbard, if you have him, you're plugging him in. You know, up until this week, it has been as like an RB2 or a flex. But now you might be plugging him into your RB1 spot. So, God, it is gross out there. Kev, what do you got?
Yeah, hey, let's just keep it going. Let's keep the grossness going, okay? We're just gonna be a gross fest. But today I'm gonna talk about Josh Jacobs. You know, I have him at 10, and I think this is he's in a really good spot this week. If you kind of look at Josh Jacobs, played at least 65% of the snaps in 3 straight weeks, and he's running 14.5 pass routes per game, which isn't great, but isn't terrible either. He's averaging 13.5 carries per game and 3 receptions per game as well. And he's getting 72% of the opportunity, which is the 10th highest among all running backs. And he gets a tremendous matchup this week against Philly. Philly has been, much better against the pass than they have against the run. They currently have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to the position. And so and they're also, I think, 26th in run DVOA as well in the year. And so, you could definitely run against this team. I think since Brandon Graham, I believe, went out, they've just fallen apart on the defensive side of the football. So, I really like Josh Jacobs this week. And, for the most part this year, he's been kind of a low end RB2 for most people, but this is I think this is a really solid spot for him in this game. And so, Josh Jacobs, he's not a sexy name, and he's not somebody that I think has like a monster ceiling, but I think he can provide you enough this week to, I think he can get, maybe possibly 15 to 20 fantasy points. I think is well within the range of possibility for him this week. So I like Josh Jacobs as well in this matchup against Philly. If you don't have anybody else to talk about in this RB1 range, I think we can jump on to the RB2s, and we can just keep the grossness going because at 13, we have Cordero Patterson. Yes, we do. Cordero Patterson, another name I did not expect to have us, here, but here we are. You guys actually have them both as an RB1. I have him at 18. I am not fully committed to the Cordero Patterson experience quite yet, but it is out from there. It's James Conner, Miles Sanders for the brand, and Davian Harris, Chase Edmonds, J.D. McKissick, Javonte Williams, Mike Davis, gross, Damian Williams, Alex Collins, Dearness Johnson, and Melvin Gordon. Woo! Okay, let's talk about some RB2s, okay? If we thought the RB1s were kind of weird, these are even worse. And so, Cody, who's your RB2 flavor of the week?
Let's go right back to the top, man. Let's go at RB13 with Cordero Patterson. Is it here to stay? Who knows? But injuries, 6 bye weeks. On the season, he is RB12 in standard and RB10 in both half point and full point PPR. Obviously, the last game that we saw him in against the Jets, they had to use him a little bit more than what they had been because of all the, Ridley not being there, Russell Gage still injured. So he did see 14 carries, saw 9 targets, but the targets have been pretty consistent for him outside of week 1, where he only saw 2. Since then, he has seen 7, 6, and 9 targets. The touchdowns, obviously unsustainable on the amount of touches and the amount of snaps that he's playing. But going up against this Miami defense, allowing the 4th most half PPR points to the running back position, Robbie, you were talking about the Miami defense in the quarterback video, just not the defense that we thought it was going to be. If you want to look at Cordero Patterson as a receiver, Miami is giving up the 3rd most half PPR points to wide receivers. So whether you want to plug him in at RB, wide receiver, flex, it doesn't matter. You can plug Cordero Patterson in this week and feel confident doing it. I'm glad we wasted all the time. Well, I guess we didn't waste that much time in the offseason, Kev, but going back and forth about, Mike Davis and Wayne Gallman. You were talking about, Wayne Gallman's going to come in and he's going to be the one taking away from Mike Davis. And I was all in the Mike Davis train. And at the end of the day, it's Cordero, MF, and Patterson.
As somebody who has said Cordero Patterson is a sell high, and I do think that when we talk about running back rankings and with 6 teams on bye, all the injuries that are happening, he's going to sneak in as a top 13, top 12 back for us just because of what's left there. He's a guy that's probably going to see 5 or 6 receptions And in a half PPR league, that's just valuable enough because of what he's been doing once he gets the football. Now, I know that you guys feel the same, and we've been touting this, that long term, I don't think he continues this. He can't continue scoring on 16% of his receptions. Calvin Ridley comes back after missing a week. Russell Gage will be coming back eventually. We do see the Kyle Pitts emergence coming, right? So his target share of 17%, I don't think continues the way it has been. So I do think he slows down a bit, but when it's this gross, he's still going to be ranked highly. So love you pointing that out, Cody. But the guy I'm going to talk about is James Conner. Kev, I know you are high on him as well. With Chase Edmonds so limited last week, and I don't know if that continues this week, but if it does, we saw James Conner get 55% of the snaps. He got 17 touches. I just think that James Conner, whenever he's in a good game script, he's a guy that you have to have in your starting lineup just because of how explosive this Cardinals offense is, right? He's had 2 games of 2 touchdowns in those 2 games, and he's getting an average of 14 touches per game, 3 games of over 16 carries. And I just think he's a great shot at getting a touchdown against this Houston Texans defense that's not good. They're getting absolutely exposed on all sides of the football. So if we're talking about a matchup that fades towards James Conner and not towards Chase Edmonds still nicked up with that shoulder injury. So maybe the snap share also continues to lean towards James Conner. He's going to be a top 13, 14 guy for us. He's a top 10 guy for me. I'm really excited about James Conner and what he could bring in this matchup.
Yeah, you have James Conner out here taking bringing some of the Steelers with him and doing his best Jerome Bettis impersonation and having Chase Edmonds be Fast Willie Parker.
I love a Willie Parker mention in 2021. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Kev, who you got?
Well, I mean, James Conner has, essentially taken over the Kenyon Drake role. I mean, he's the guy who gets all of the, he's getting all the carries. He's getting all the goal line work. He's actually 4th among all running backs goal line carries. Where you have Chase Edmonds getting 6 and 4 carries the last 2 weeks, but he's also getting most of the pass catching work. So, good to see James Conner living his best life and getting a second opportunity. So, yeah, I mean, James Conner, I think, is very, very viable this week. But my guy that I am much higher than you guys are, and that's Miles Sanders, and I have him at 10, and you guys have him at 18. I get it. The peripherals have been not good. He only has 2 games of double-digit fantasy points, and he only has 3 games, I guess, where he's been at least an RB3. And however, if you kind of peel the layers back, kind of like an orange, right? You start peeling those layers back to get to the goodness on the inside to get some of it, right? Let's do that with Miles Sanders, okay? So if you look at him, especially the last couple of weeks, he's really taken a stranglehold of his backfield. Now, the production hasn't been there, but the opportunities certainly have. He's played 74% of the snaps in week 5. He played 91% of the snaps in week 6 against Tampa. 11 carries, 9 carries, not great, obviously. 17 to 15 routes run. He's seen 9 targets over the last 2 weeks. However, those are the 2 of the best run defenses in the league, right? Nobody runs against Tampa because Tampa is one of the best run defenses we've seen. And so I think that, I said this today in our Slack chat, which you can find that in the description down below. Always popping. Questions all day, every day, just going off in there. And so, but I brought it up with Miles Sanders then. That Miles Sanders is the best buy low right now in all of fantasy football. Their schedule past this last week against Tampa is absolutely amazing. It's like top 5 schedule remaining. He only has, I think, 2 matchups against 2 teams that are in the top 10 of run DVOA the rest of the season. And the opportunity's been there. He's getting all the opportunities in this backfield. So I think it's 76% of the opportunities. And so I do think they start to run the ball more. This is a good matchup against Oakland, against the Raiders. The Raiders allow the 11th most fantasy points to the position. They are 16th in run DVOA on the season as well. So this is a good matchup for Miles Sanders. And I think he spreads his wings, and I'm going to be like, what is that, Dirty Dancing, where you pick him up in the air and and carry him around. That's what I'm going to do. It's me and Miles. I have rode with him. I have not jumped off the bandwagon. Miles Sanders, top 12 running back this week. Plug him back into your lineup. Thank me on Sunday night. I digress. So, Miles Sanders, lock him in, top 12 running back this week. Love him. You know, and you already took my other guy that I was going to talk about, which was James Conner. So a couple of these other running backs that we have in here, you know, Dearness Johnson. I guess we should talk about the Cleveland situation. Everybody's going to run out and spend their top fab on him. Everybody's going to go out and spend a number one waiver ab on him. And it's a fucking mistake. You shouldn't spend anything on him. No fab, no waiver. At the best, he's a 1 week play. At the best. Best opportunity, he's a 1 week guy. Right? Because Nick Chubb will be back after this week. They did the right thing, the smart thing, and not rush Nick Chubb back. It was a mild calf injury, but there was no reason for them to rush him back with him playing on Thursday. They play the Broncos, which has one of the best defenses in the league. I want no part of anything Cleveland. I don't care who it is. You're not playing nobody. Odell, the tight ends, nobody. This is going to be an ugly, ugly game on Thursday night between these two teams. Both the offenses are out of whack. Even Denver doesn't look great either. You know, they just got the doors blown off them by Las Vegas. There's talk about Teddy Bridgewater might lose his job to Drew Lock, and they may go back to Drew Lock. Who knows? But I am not messing with the Ernest Johnson in this matchup. And I'm not messing with Demetric Felton unless you absolutely are desperate. And I get it that there's a lot of guys on bye, but do not spend heavy fab or waiver, which I guess this will come out after waivers run. But the people that do, you're an idiot because it's just there's nothing there for you. It's a bad process play. He has 1 week and that's it. You know, and with Nick Chubb coming back, Nick Chubb is going to eat when he comes back next week. Okay. So anyways, do you guys have any other RB2s or should we move on to the RB3s?
I have to sneak back in because I took your guy, so I do apologize for that. But we just had to talk a little bit about James Conner because how much we like him. But the other guy I think that you guys are a little bit low on, and we have to see what comes out with Antonio Gibson. But J.D. McKissic has kind of been a hot, cold player. I mentioned, you know, Jameis Winston in the quarterback video, super hot and cold, either gives you a fantastic week or an absolute dud. J.D. McKissic has been that with Antonio Gibson in the lineup. We're not sure if Antonio Gibson is going to play this week. Let's keep an eye on that. But even if he does, this is a game script that he absolutely can take advantage of where they're going against the Packers. They're going to have to throw it. We saw J.D. McKissic play on 61% of the snaps. That is a season high for him. We saw Antonio Gibson go all the way down to 39%. That's going to be injury related. So even if he does play, is he limited with a microfracture in his shin? So I think this is a play where you can rely on J.D. McKissic. He is the one that they trust in the pass game. He's the one that they trust in those 2-minute drills. And so that matches up well with going against the Green Bay Packers. And so he's going to be the guy for me to make maybe towards that 17 PPR points that he has gotten in 3 of the weeks where he's got at least 5 catches and not so much the 3 weeks where he's been 6 point or less. So I think J.D. McKissic absolutely needs to be mentioned here as a running back too.
I think especially in the matchup against Green Bay. I mean, you know, Green Bay's been terrible against the run, but they're going to push them. They're going to make them throw the ball. And I think J.D. McKissic is a direct beneficiary of it. And honestly, I think that that the guy we probably should be talking about more and that he's really getting not that much buzz is Jarrett Patterson. Because honestly, Antonio Gibson might be done for the year. Like this injury that he has, like I mean, he very simply could fracture his fibula. I mean, with heavy stress fractures in there and everything else. And the fact that they were supposed to have the MRI yesterday, or excuse me, on Monday, and we still haven't heard anything about it is a little concerning as well. Because I would think if it was nothing, they would already come out and said, no, he's good to go. It's fine. It hasn't gotten any worse because that's what he's heading towards. Right. And it is something major and he hasn't been able to make it through it. Like, it seems like they would be much smarter to just shut him down and at least for the foreseeable future, they're not going anywhere. Is it really worth risking a major injury or something like that? I don't think so. And so I think Jarrett Patterson is actually probably the guy that people should be looking to add because I honestly think if something happened long term with Antonio Gibson, even if it is short term IR for Antonio Gibson, I think Jarrett Patterson ends up being the lead back where J.D. McKissic stays in the same role, pass catching back, and mixing in because J.D. McKissic is not getting 15, 20 touches a game. It's just not going to happen. And so I do think that while I think in PPR formats, McKissic remains, probably a decent RB2, in PPR formats, but I think Jarrett Patterson would be the guy people should be monitoring. And so I actually took Antonio Gibson out of my top 36 whatsoever because I don't think he plays this week. regardless of anything else. And so I do think Jarrett Patterson kind of becomes a really interesting RB3. So, but I do like the call of McKissick, especially against Green Bay. We saw it last year. He can be really productive. So maybe we are a little bit higher. I'm just kind of waiting for that final nail in the coffin of Antonio Gibson, which hate to see it. I was all about the Antonio Gibson life. Hate to see that he just hasn't been able to stay healthy these first two seasons in the league. So, but we'll see, I guess, what ends up happening with him. But other than that, do you guys have anybody else you want to jump over to the RB? Okay. Let's go over to the RBs. AJ Dillon at 25. We have Antonio Gibson at 26, but after we just talked about that, but I have him at 48. You guys have him at 17 and 16. From there, we have Khalil Herbert, which I am higher on than you guys. Michael Carter, Jamal Williams, Devontae Booker, which is much lower probably because of myself, and then Myles Gaskin, Nyheim Hines, Latavius Murray, Kenyon Drake, Ramondre Stevenson, and Kenny Gainwell. One, I will mention, I have Devontae Booker at 43 because I think there's a better shot that Saquon could actually return this week. There's what was talk when it first happened that it's probably more of a 7 to 10 day type of injury because it's just a lower ankle sprain. It's not anything, like a high ankle or anything like that. They were reluctant to rule him out all last week. We'll see on him. I have Saquon at 5, so I moved Devontae Booker out, but we'll see what happens. Regardless of that, let's talk about Khalil Herbert. I've been really impressed with that dude the last 2 weeks. He looked really good even last week as well in that game against Green Bay. Now, this is obviously a much tougher matchup against Tampa Bay. I'm sure Matt Nagy, because Matt Nagy's a donkey and shouldn't be a head coach in the league, is still going to try to run the ball here in this game, even though every other team has opted not to. But I do think Khalil Herbert, it's going to be interesting how he shakes back in with Damian Williams likely to be back this week. And then Michael Carter, I have at 22. You guys have him at 32 and 29. I think there's probably a better chance that he probably, moving forward, coming off their bye, probably handles 60% of the opportunities in this backfield moving forward, somewhere in that 55, 60%. So I like Michael Carter as a low-end RB2. Ramondre Stevenson, I was actually surprised. Ramondre Stevenson was utilized more as a pass catcher, especially at his size. Not something that I would have expected from him. But, we saw it last week. He actually ran more routes than Brandon Bolden last week. And so if he's going to be more of, in that pass catching role, I don't mind it. I mean, he had 3 catches last week. He targeted 3 times, 5 carries, 62 total yards and a touchdown, in a matchup against the Jets. I don't really mind him. I think that he is kind of a borderline PPR option. Do I think he's all of a sudden going to get like 7 to 10, targets a game? No, not at all. But I think that he can be relevant. And Damian Harris seems like he's always on a short leash with Bill Belichick. If he fumbles again, Damian Harris can be relegated back to the bench with Ramondre Stevenson stepping up. So I think Ramondre Stevenson is at least, kind of a flex option. Do you guys have anybody you want to discuss?
I do. I want to talk about, I feel like I want to call him the Tony Pollard of the North, and that's AJ Dillon, who is starting to kind of carve out his own, side role with Aaron Jones up there in Green Bay. And he's had 13 touches over the past 3 games per game. And I think this is kind of what we saw in previous years with Jamal Williams, right? So this is a guy that's going to be doing, some of the rushing game with Aaron Jones, but he's also just doing it better than what we saw with Jamal Williams, right? So this past game, he only had 11 carries, but he had for 59 yards. And I know the Bears defense isn't what it used to be, but they had Akeem Hicks back. The run defense is okay, and he had 59 yards. So we've also seen him get involved in the pass game. So AJ Dillon is a guy that in this type of week where we have so many injuries, so many people out, where he has standalone value. And then again, if anything were to happen to Aaron Jones, I think he shoots automatically up the boards. So I'm really excited about AJ Dillon and the work he's been getting. He's kind of in that, 10 to 15-ish touches per week range, which for a running back 2 on his own team, that's fantastic. So he's a guy that I think should probably be a little bit higher in some of our rankings. But yeah, that's the one guy that I really want to hit on.
It's gross here. Like Myles Gaskin can suck a fart. I have no use. I have no use for that dude. I can't do it. Nyheim Hines has been an absolute non-factor. 2 of the first 3 weeks he was an RB2. Since then, from week 4 to 6 in half PPR scoring, he has finished as running back 84, 66, and 48. Like I did not see that coming. He's like the past, like I said, the past 3 weeks, 4 opportunities, 5 opportunities, and 6 opportunities is all he has had. The things I want to throw out to you guys, a couple other injury things that we're looking here, and we can wrap it up on this note, unless Debbie Kevy has some deeper plays that he wants to touch on. But let's say that Alex Collins is out, and let's say that Latavius Murray does not play either. Both those guys are banged up. Latavius Murray probably more on the side that he could be able to play versus Alex Collins. But would you guys have any interest in Rashad Penny or Devonta Freeman if either of those 2 running backs were to be out for Week 7? Let's just get this big old pile of gross and just keep tossing it up on top.
I think you would have to in Rashad Penny, because I don't think they would. DJ Dallas and Travis Homer feel like much more of the pass catching options there. But I will say that DJ Dallas did get some opportunities on the ground as well, and I thought he looked decent, against Pittsburgh, in that towards the end of that game, Alex Collins left. So it's just can Rashad Penny stay healthy? I mean, I don't know. He's been in the league forever and is never healthy. I mean, come on, guy, can he stay healthy?
That's round 1 pick Rashad Penny.
I know, and he has done absolutely nothing. But so we'll see. But I will say this: it's not a good matchup against New Orleans. The Saints' run defense continues to be excellent. They're number 2 in run DVOA, and so if you're wanting a running back from this backfield, I probably would want, maybe if you were going to take a shot, maybe DJ Dallas, just because maybe he's more involved as a pass catcher. But I think you could roster Rashad Penny for sure, and take a shot on him if you had to, if you were desperate, because he could end up being the starting running back here in the soft. And as far as the Ravens go, absolutely fucking not. I want no problem. I want no part. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Any of that backfield. None. And the only reason Latavius Murray's been relevant is because of touchdowns, because he continues to score touchdowns. I think he scored a touchdown in 4 of 6 weeks or something like that. Other than that, he's been terrible. And now we're just bringing in Devonta Freeman and trying to make him a thing. Le'Veon Bell scores a touchdown last week. All these fucking running backs scoring. We can't let Lamar Jackson score. But when people have him in DFS and have him in all their lineups, and he's supposed to go off and hey, heaven forbid, let's just let the somebody's dynasty team from 6 years ago, whatever, all these guys actually were relevant to run the ball in. I digress. No, I don't want any part of Devonta.
They saw that Texans running back room and they were like, no, we can double down. We can do better than that. Here's the thing, Kev. They're going to score rushing touchdowns. I get it. It's gross. I said a couple weeks ago after a Devonta Freeman run that was so bad that he got stuffed for -4 yards after he was indecisive, got hit back. It was disgusting. He should have been cut, but this Baltimore running game is going to score touchdowns. That's just how they move the football and then how they end up scoring. So I actually like Devonta Freeman a little bit more than I would a DJ Dallas or Rashad Penny, because I would probably have DJ Dallas a little bit above Rashad Penny, because I just don't know what to expect from him coming back after – what has he had, 4 games in the past 3 years? It's just been injury after injury, right, with this guy. So I don't know.
More surgeries than games played for Rashad Penny.
Yeah, someone had to say it. So, no, I have them below guys like A.J. Dillon, Michael Carter. Thank goodness we're off the Ty Johnson train. We're on the Michael Carter train. Thank you for joining, Kev. It's been a minute.
I don't know anybody said we're off.
It's not been a minute.
Yeah, we can't go down this rabbit hole.
And so, yeah, I'm off those guys. Myles Gaskin, as gross as he is, I'd probably start him over those guys, and that's saying a lot.
Give me CJ Procise over all of them.
What team is he on?
I think he's in Tampa. Yeah, he's in Tampa. But, for the record, I will just say this, and we're not going to go into it, but I will just say this. Cody actually has Ty Johnson at 41 this week, which is higher than me. So we'll just let that simmer. We'll let that air. He's almost on RB3. Okay, we'll let that simmer. Talk about it yourself. Let us know. Which terrible running back are you most excited about playing this week? Let us know in the comments section below. But until then, I appreciate everybody checking out the video. Okay, I know it's terrible. I know it's rough. Hey, come see us Wednesday night. Okay, we'll talk about it. It's a safe haven. Okay, for everybody. We're gonna talk about it. It's a happy place. Okay, we're gonna try to get us all through it. Okay, because we're all trying to win this week. Fuck the NFL. Fuck Roger Goodell for giving us this terrible schedule with all these teams on it. So this is all we're deciding between. But hey, it is what it is. We're going to make it work. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.